Hey guys, we're here doing a live Q&A about design experience. And lying to you. We're lying to you. We already did it. It's an afterward intro.
So thank you guys for joining us. Kind of the point of today is to talk with you guys about the design experiences, what we hope to gain from the design experiences, and what we hope you guys will take away from the design experiences. A lot of people have been asking us what the constraints are for the different design experiences. We don't have all the rules defined yet, so today's kind of Q&A is actually going to be, I think, more of a discussion than anything. So we're going to field your questions as best we can, and in many cases, I think we'll talk about it. We'll just discuss it right here in front of you guys. Yeah, we'll just have a chat about it. And with that being said, the preface for this is we're not going to be making any decisions today. We're not going to be walking away with this with the constraints or the kind of the goals or objectives for this. We really just want to let you guys hear us talk about it, give you some idea of what other people are thinking about, because that's going to help you guys as well. And then hopefully by the end of the conversation, we'll have gotten some information about where you guys want to go with these items, and then we can prepare a more formal list of constraints for you guys so that you'll have some more information to take away from that. Well, we can talk through some of the different design experiences, because I think the constraints for each of them are going to be a little bit different. But at a high level, as I was saying earlier, we don't really have constraints defined yet. We really wanted to leave it open for you guys. That being said, there are some technical, some mechanical, and some design limitations for those that's going to kind of prevent us from doing some of the things that we want. The first design experience I think we have is tattoo and hairstyle. Mm-hmm. I mean, it can't be patented or like trademarked items, but I think other than that,
probably for tattoos, nothing ridiculously obscene, I would say.
Where you tattoo might be a limitation.
Where you tattoo.
Yeah. Tattoos, kind of static fixed tattoos on different areas of the body, like back and torso and arms and things like that, are already going to be a feature of the game. So really what this design experience is about is not just having kind of a pre-made tattoo, but having one that an artist, that Eddie or Van has worked on for you.
What people are asking for, we'll sort of start to define those things too. We might, take a paper doll and chop it up and say, torso, head, neck, arms, or something like that. If you want a multi-section tattoo, it might start running into a different area.
Right. I would say we don't really have any constraints defined for the hair yet, but I think probably would end up doing something like waist length at maximum. I can't see it's going below that, maybe even mid-back. I think as long as it fits into a kind of a reasonable fantasy theme, it should probably be supported.
We talked about beard stuff at one point, and I was talking with Van about it, but yeah.
Yes, I think we'd be fine with doing beards. Yes, you will be able to determine the type of benefit, the food or drink. Within the mechanics, we want people to consume different types of food, but depending upon the role that they play in the world. So people who are adventurers are going to be mostly doing trail rations, maybe things that are high in carbs or high protein, to kind of determine which of their attributes they develop more quickly. That way, people are going to look more like the type of role that they have. It kind of helps reinforce that. So any food or you make or a beverage would need to manipulate the attributes, vitality and energy, and then probably some other things.
Let's say someone makes the Illyrian turkey, which gives you a bonus to being satiated, but your sleep levels start hitting.
Oh, yeah, your vitality.
You know what I mean?
Oh.
So you could actually make
Tryptophan.
turkey. Yeah, tryptophan. So you could actually make foods with slight debuffs, but give better bonuses to them. So you're even more satiated than normal food would give you, but just sleepy afterwards.
Yeah, we're totally for doing like balancing those, like adding even better buffs in exchange for some debuffs, like Jason was saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We will give you the recipe for it, but we will not let anybody else have it initially. But if people start like doing research and development and leading in that direction, they will eventually discover it. If you're eager to let people find out about it, we can like put prompts in from day one so that as people start to research, like it immediately starts like moving them in the direction of your item. If you want it to be like a prolific thing.
If we give you something that powerful, either managing it and combining it so it's usable could be extremely poisonous to yourself, or the task of acquiring it could have you take down a creature that could very easily kill you as well.
It depends. If you're making a new potion and that's a dye, to dye leather a unique color, a specific color that only you know how to make, I would say that's probably fine.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if the permanent effect is, you permanently remove speech from somebody so they can't communicate anymore or something like that.
See in the dark forever.
Yeah, then that would be no. That'd be no bueno. there are primary and secondary effects to having potions. So I think we could say you could have something that has a secondary effect that has a longer lifespan than just the primary effect. Everything is included in the armor. It's the full thing. Like, you can make it look as custom as you want to. And if you have a custom, like a crest for your house, we can put it on your cloak and like we can make you look awesome. So it's pretty much everything. That's why it's on the Duke tier. We prefer it be only how it looks. If you want to talk about how it performs, there could be some slight modifications to like balance how it behaves in the paper rock scissors system in terms of like what type of armor it's strong against. But we probably wouldn't want to do we can't do new combat techniques and stuff unless it's actually one of the combat technique tiers.
Yeah, because like if we get into like how it specifically performs like damage and weights and things like that, you want to have it sort of balanced, but you also want to have the weapon to be able to evolve. So if new metals are determined or different things like that, new processes for when you're applying a blade, you want to be able to make use of the technology advancing.
Can you skin an existing weapon? Can you take, for example, a longsword and then take your design for that, and just by combining the correct materials with an existing weapon of that type, make it look like your weapon?
Yeah, it's a cool idea.
There's pros and cons either way.
Yeah.
Like, taking an existing weapon as a template and applying your custom look to it means that, you know, it's easier for you to replace if it gets lost. But the corollary to that, there is probably going to be more of them wandering around in the world, because if you lose them and it's just any longsword that you've then made look like yours, you're going to value it less.
I kind of feel like avoiding it because I'd feel more pride over my sword. If I was like the one who made it and had the whole process of it, I think it would be kind of nice.
There you go. Yes, absolutely positively sure people will have an opportunity to experiment with different weapons before the design experience for Weapon Master begins.
I guess the constraints are technological. You know, you can't choose a laser gun, and you know,
It's yours
so on
once
and
it's
so forth.
discovered.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind too is that the way the combat system works is there are combat like weapon sets, and in the weapon set there are different categories like short swords, long swords, curved blades, double-edged blades, and things like that. And then within those there are different stances and techniques that you can learn. And when we give people the ability to design these weapons, ideally we can take a template from an existing weapon so that the combat techniques are the same. So it's only aesthetic, because if we have to develop new techniques, new attacks, new animations and all that, then it's actually more in line with the Chimera tier. It's an actual combat style, not just a weapon.
For example, the whip. We develop a combat style for the whip. Maybe that could apply to like a kusurigama. You know, they're the blades on the ends of chains. They're like ninjas use.
If you manage to do the karate tier, the one where you get to develop a martial arts style or a new stance, new sets of techniques, depending upon the weapon style that you want to work with, or the weapon, we might be flexible to allowing people to create a new weapon at the same time as that, especially if it fits in well with the current theme, or if it's a direction we're planning to go. It's not too far technologically above where we are currently. Might introduce that as well.
Yeah, and like the one thing to remember too is we'll be working with you guys whenever you come up with these ideas. So when you're pitching them, you know, we'll be going back and forth, and we'll sort of let you know if your idea is within the realms or not. And then we'll also try and work, maybe we can find a way to mutually, you know, work it towards a route that could work. So.
The relic tiers allow you to design a relic or an artifact. Those are the only ones that can be magical in nature, because there are so few of them in the world. And the way that we're planning to do those design experiences is to work with the designer on the lore behind the relic or the artifact that they're creating. And then we'll give you written materials like treasure maps and scrolls and information that describes kind of like lost lore, like a big treasure hunt. And then we're going to let you try and figure out how to actually activate the relic. But that's the only magic. Almost any type of item can be made into a relic. It can be figurines, paintings, rings, armor, weapons, cookware. I would say non-living, non-consumable.
So then there you go.
Yeah. A very powerful magic wielder created an item a long time ago that has a permanent activatable ability. And so what that activatable ability is could span really almost anything. In terms of their role within the story, they're almost always designed to provide interesting story dynamics and conflict and like story arcs and things like that. So if you have a relic, either people are generally going to benefit quite a bit from from having it and getting it from you, or it will somehow be tied to something in the story overall. No. Part of the world is that anything that can be created can be lost. That's how it adds value. So if somebody were to take the relic from you, they wouldn't know it was a relic. It's possible they could eventually learn about it, but they may have it, trade it, and never know that it was a relic to begin with. Ooh.
That's cool.
That's cool. So an artifact that requires more than one component to be combined. I would say that that's a very cool idea,
Yeah.
and I think that it's definitely doable. I think that there's a lot of story opportunities for those items, whatever they are, to get separated and then reunited, and that creates its own set of stories. So I think absolutely that would be cool. From a content standpoint, we like the idea of being able to take the server that you're on and giving that item to you. And in the case of like custom design armor and custom designed weapons, it'd probably be server specific. I can only imagine that'll be available on your server. Things like food and beverage and consumables, if you're like one of the kings and you design one of the world events, world story events and stuff like that, we'd really like to be able to use those on more than one server. So for example, with the Brewmaster, if you do develop a potion, the recipe for that would be given to you, as well as knowledge on how to create it, but then through research and development or research and technology, it would probably be discoverable at some point on the other servers as well.
Yeah.
So probably not server exclusive in that case.
Especially like the creature creation. If you create a creature, we definitely want to populate that across so everybody can experience, the creation. So
yeah, it's actually more power for you, because then you can say, I didn't just create a creature that exists in one little grove on one server. It's like this became a prominent creature that exists on all the different worlds. So
Yeah.
So what we were originally planning to do with the naming of stars is to let you name a star and put it in the sky at some place, and then when you and only you look up in the sky, that specific star will pulse for you, so you can always see which star is yours.
What if we made the stars also pulse for your soulmate?
Ooh.
But not every soulmate is gonna be, a stargazer.
The question is can you use the soulmate star to find your soulmate?
yeah, that could be there could be some, like, I don't want to say abuse, but there could be some ways to sort of do some weird stuff there. So if we did that, we'd have to find a nice creative way to do it where you couldn't use it to out your soulmate, but you can maybe know when they're online or something like that.
The other question to that was constellations. We will have constellations. If people want to send us ideas or designs for them, we can always just throw them up. We'd have to set like the number of stars and stuff like that. But ultimately, we got to populate the entire solar system. There's a lot of work. We welcome your help. There's really an open end on the world story event stuff. That is part of the highest design tier, and it takes a lot of time, but it's really an opportunity to get super creative. It could be introductions of new creatures, characters, it could be major shifts in the story arc. You could tie it to the introduction of new technology that we're planning to release into the world. Like, there's a lot of things we can do with that, which I think would be a lot of fun. I think that's one that we just work with people on. Like, do you have a specific type of world event that you want to happen? And then we talk about it, find out if it fits within the timeline someplace. But like the relics, it would be one of those where we would work with you on kind of what the world event is, but we wouldn't define the trigger with you and that sort of thing. And then you wouldn't have any idea when that actual world event is going to occur.
We're sort of like creating all the creatures now and coming up with like this list, and so I'm sure like you guys will be inspired by what you see coming out of here, because I think creating like the biomes you're doing now and creating these big animal lists are sort of building those constraints, and people have a really good idea what they can do by the time we have a larger bestiary that's out there.
It needs to fit into the lore in some way, shape, or form, and it needs to fit within the ecosystem. So as part of designing the creature, you'd be working with, in all likelihood, Miguel, to figure out what the creature consumes, what consumes the creature, what adaptations do they have to their environment, if any, which biomes they are typically found in, whether or not they are solitary or whether they're in groups, whether or not they have specific behavior patterns, do they migrate, are they herding, that sort of stuff. So it would be working with you to define those details, and then from that we would kind of get an idea of what the creature is. On some cases, it could be a pervasive creature that's seen all over the place, and in some cases, it's unique. I think whether or not it's a pet or not, or is tameable, is more a question of how common or mundane the animal is. So if somebody were to come up with a design for a creature that would make a good mount or would make a good pet, and it can be found regularly in the wild, I don't see why it couldn't be, but it can't be an exclusive pet. The short answer is yes. When we do the blueprints with the architecture tool, there's actually the siding that the building uses and kind of the interior walls are actually a separate component than the structure itself. So in-game, it's actually possible for people to architect, to look for a building and then build it with like brick or wood or stone, and it changes the materials and the cost to build it, but you could do interior walls with wooden framing and then the exterior with stone. So.
Mm-hmm.
That depends on what you submit. The big problem we have to worry about here is copyright infringement and trademark stuff. So we need to be able to prove that you designed it and that it's your original creative work. If we can prove that it was your original creative work, then yes, you can. That's something we're still working out.
I would say
That's actually kind of cool.
I think she's trying to kill one of the other kings. The answer, the short answer is, at a general level, yes, but you wouldn't know who the person is that needs to die in order for that to occur. You wouldn't be able to name the character, but there could be a story event tied to the death of a character. More generally, yes, the death of a character is definitely a trigger for a story arc. Thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully we got your questions answered. If not, make sure to post them on the forums. We'll get to them as soon as we can. Start discussions, talk about what other design experiences you guys want, provide constraints for us. Come up with the most radical ideas you can so that we can tell you no, so that we can figure out what will work and what will not work. Because the more ideas we get from you guys, the clearer it will become to us what we can do technically and what we can't do, what's within the realm of possibility, so that at some point in the future we can give you more well-defined constraints. We want you guys to do cool stuff. We enjoy the process. We want you guys to be excited about the design experiences you guys have, and we want you guys connected to the world. You know, we want things to be personal to you, and whether or not that's a personal piece of armor, a personal weapon, or just your own personal touch you've added to the world by coming up with your own consumable ale or like whatever.
I'm really excited for it.